Thank you, Denise, for joining me today. I'm really excited to talk about Mission Angela. Before I get into the questions, can you tell us something about yourself?
Oh, well, thank you, Zara. I can tell you that I have started writing fiction later in life, but my background is nursing and academic work at university in public health. So it's in retirement that I took up art and painting and also writing. So I'm really enjoying the new journey, a big learning curve in this stage of my life.
Well, that's really exciting stuff. What inspired you to write Mission Angela?
Well, it really came by chance, Zara. It was when I was with a writing group, which I belong to two writing groups now, and they used to pop a prompt to us that we would then write a short story. And the prompt this time was they had to get away. So I had been reading a lot of spy novels, John le Carré, and many others, and for somehow the tunnel in East Berlin came to mind. So that's where it all started. And it started with a very, very simple short story about two people wanting to escape East Berlin. So that's how it started.
Thank you. I know you were already talking a little bit about it, but could you explain the significance of the title Mission Angela?
Well, my understanding that the title needed to be clear, perhaps 2 words, 3 words at the most. It needed to be relevant to the content. It also needed to inspire curiosity, a bit of fascination that people might pick up the book and be tempted to read. So the title is very important. It took a long while to find a title in a very simple way.
I think the title is one of the most important parts of writing a book because that's the first thing people see, right?
Exactly, yes.
Now, what research did you undertake to depict the post-World War II era and the intricacies of the MI6 and Stasi operations accurately?
Well, it began, as I said, writing a chapter to the prompts each time. So I had read, and I'm an avid reader, like most writers, and I had spent a lot of time reading espionage, reading stories about the Cold War, particularly following the Second World War, a lot of intrigue, documentaries, internet, whatever I could put my hands on, I read. And what I did too was I interspersed writing with research so that it was all relevant. Each time a new idea for the plot and developing the plot came, needed further research into that particular area. So not having lived the experience, I had to rely very much on reading and absorbing as much as I could and finding out as much as I could.
And were there challenges in creating a story set in a divided Berlin?
There are always challenges, particularly writing historical fiction. And the challenges really were about getting accuracy and having the story told accurately as it could have happened, but it was fiction. And so the challenge was to make a very good story, follow a plot line, and have it as believable and accurate as possible.
And why did you decide to have a love angle between Angela and Axel, given the risky circumstances?
Well, it's risky business, and that's what I was talking about. Falling in love is risky anyway, and we are our most vulnerable when we fall in love, but particularly between two cultures and between two ideologies. So I like the intrigue of the risky business. And so instead of taking a plot line where Angela, the character, was really going to exploit the position, she fell in love, and so did he. So we had two characters, central characters, who were on the divide, but later in the story, which I won't use as spoiler, the divide was not as great as it would appear in the first instance. So the intrigue of risky business.
Well, I like that you're keeping people intrigued as well, so they can read more about it in your book.
Good.
Now, reading into it, are any of the characters based on real people or real life events?
Well, they had to be on real life events in the sense it's a historical fiction. So, of course, the GDR, the Soviet rule of East Berlin, the divided Berlin, and the way in which the regime operated had to be believable. But the characters that I have placed into the setting are fiction, but they can be based on people, historical footnotes, in fact, that come to mind when you're writing, but they're all fictional. No one has the same name. They're fictionalized.
I always hear this question from people that want to start out writing. So I'm curious to hear your answer. What was your writing process for Mission Angela? Did you outline the story or let it evolve naturally?
I let it evolve naturally, and that's the way I like to write. It started off with a beginning plot and then another idea, developing the idea, more research, letting it deepen. So some people call it, I guess, a bit like a fabric mosaic, but I kept a linear movement, but it developed as it went. And my imagination, and I let my pen dictate and run. So it was very much an evolvement.
So it feels like it was also a wonderful journey that was unraveling as you were writing the story.
It was. It was a fabulous journey. I have to confess to be early bird in the day. And so I'd get my best ideas and thoughts early in the morning. So I went with Angela on this lovely journey, sitting in my bed with a cup of tea beside me and writing and almost imagining that I could be there with her.
That's
So it
lovely.
was very much a fascinating journey. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, the book is a compelling blend of espionage and romance. How did you find the balance between the two genres?
It was something that I didn't think seriously about at the time because what I wanted to do was write the story. And that seemed to blend fairly naturally. It became fairly organic. The blend of the two was basically driven by telling the story. So I didn't focus just on the protagonist. Um, it was really the story that came through, and the blend came as a result of that. I didn't have a problem, I didn't think.
Now, what is the central theme of the book, in your opinion?
The central theme really comes down to courage and perseverance. The courage shown by so many characters in carrying out what they believed was to be the right thing. So, in face of severe penalties, if not death, people were being extremely courageous. The perseverance was in the love angle, and to be able to provide a commitment and persevere with that commitment. So I think those two words cover it: courage and perseverance.
Was it difficult writing from a perspective of a female MI agent, and how did you prepare for it?
That's a very good question. And I do have to come up with, not my saying, but somebody else, and I cannot recall, said that espionage is not just for the boys. And the historians tell us about the women in, example, the First World War. Something like 10,000 women fought against the Kaiser. In the Second World War, it was well known the number of women that worked with the resistance and worked against the Nazi regime. Australia has a celebrated heroine, Nancy Wake, who was called the White Mouse, and she joined the French resistance. And there's a very good book, Agente, written by Daniel Boyd, I think, who has written about the females that have carried out the espionage work through world wars, through civil wars, and the Cold War. So I didn't have a problem.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It's really interesting to find out how women portrayed themselves back in the days, and it's
Yes.
not always known to people. So having someone like you write about it is really, um, to be female, you can be proudful about something too.
Yes. And that's part of the courage of these women. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. How long did it take you to write the book?
I would think 4 years. I didn't actually put a date on it, but about 4 years from the very first chapter to the prompt I had to get away to being published and released in 2022.
Now, I know you had mentioned earlier that your ideas kind of flow and they come out as you write them. Can you share an instance where you had to rewrite or cut out a significant portion of your draft?
Yes, I'm happy to. With an editor, there is a very steep learning curve, and I took that curve fairly readily, and I was advised to add to the ending something like 15,000 words. And I was really pleased, loved to do that, even though I looked at the recommendation with a little dismay, thinking, how am I going to do this? But it flowed, and thankfully, the imagination and my pen found 15,000 words, and I was much happier and satisfied with the ending. So I did, yes. I didn't have to take any out. I have to keep adding. I added words.
Well, that's good. At least, it flowed and you were able to make it your own and you loved how it turned out. I think that's the most important part.
True.
Did your perspective on Cold War history change while writing this book?
Yes, it did. It did. In fact, what it did was emphasize to me how important democracy is and how freedoms can be so easily lost and how people strive to retrieve those freedoms. So it proved a major point to me how we must work and protect democracy.
And how lucky we are to be living in this time
Yes,
of day.
indeed, indeed. Yes, we are. Yes.
And is there a personal connection or experience that influenced the way you approach the book's themes?
Only in a small way, but quite a significant way. I got to know a woman, a German woman, who came to Australia and married a friend of ours. And she told me her story of growing up in wartime Germany, the Dresden bombing, losing her parents, then marrying and trapped behind the wall in East Berlin into a violent marriage, and how she managed to escape after the wall came down and came to live in Australia. So that really sparked quite a degree of personal interest, that her story was part of the story I'd told, but in a different way. She had lived in East Berlin during those times. But apart from that, no.
Okay. Do you plan to write a sequel to Mission Angela, or is there a new project on the horizon?
No, I haven't thought about writing a sequel, but with my partner, we have co-written 3 novels. So one is ready for publication and the other 2 are out to readers. So we've been busy and during lockdowns, which enabled a little bit more intense writing. So they're our projects at the moment and they're keeping us very busy.
Well, you look
Plus Mission Angela. Yes.
you look happy being busy. So that's
Yes.
interesting.
Yes. Yes.
Now, as the successful author behind Mission Angela, could you share some guidance for upcoming writers who aim to delve into themes such as familial bonds, diverse cultures, and personal evolution?
That's a very big question. But what I would say to anybody, particularly in writers' groups, is to take advantage of sharing your ideas and dreams of writing. But the first thing is to start at the beginning, is just write every day, no matter what. And then I think when an idea starts to germinate and wanting expression is then the research, find out more, write, and then write again and learn, read, all of the things that we all do. So I don't have anything special, but especially adult learning, and continue to learn and continue to write what you would like to write and share it.
Well, thank you for sharing that advice, Denise. What are the various platforms where readers can acquire a copy of Mission Angela?
Well, the first one, of course, would be through the publisher, Feather Night Books, Amazon, bookshops here in Australia, Victoria, and through, I guess, now Bookmarc Alliance, I guess.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Denise. I'm sure people want to know where they can get the book so they can get a copy, get more excited, and learn from your experience in writing it. Could you elaborate on your partnership with Bookmarc Alliance and how this collaboration has shaped your experience in the realm of publishing?
Well, it certainly has introduced me to another level from publication. So the publishing, and then, of course, the next level of letting people know about the book and wanting your story to be out there. So through Bookmarc Alliance, I'm experiencing that. And this interview today is just yet another one of those experiences. And the questions are very insightful and very helpful for me to think about how this experience is taking me on another journey. I do. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way, Denise. I'm happy to be part of your journey, representing Bookmarc Alliance. So we're really excited on more readers learning from your stories and getting a copy of Mission Angela. So thank you for allowing me to interview you today. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's been lovely talking with you.